So in this tutorial, I'm going to introduce you to the classes concept in Java. And basically classes is nothing but a data type. So let me give you a situation here and we will see how that situation can be resolved using classes. So let's suppose we have a class in a school and it has over 50 students in it. Now I want you to create a program that will save the records of the students. Each student has some roll number assigned to it. I'm going to write here roll number and also age and gender. So the basic approach is you will create 3 variables for each student. So you will create these 3 parameters or these 3 variables for student 1, for student 2, for student 3, and similarly you're going to do it for 50 students. So you're going to create 50 into 3, which is 150 variables, which is a very big amount. So if you will create a program like this, it is going to take a lot of memory space, and accessing these values will be a lot difficult. So what we're just going to do is we're going to create a class data type with name student. In order to create a class in Java, you will have to use the class keyword. Make sure that C is smaller. So what we're just going to do is we're going to create a class student, and in this class we will create its block of statements, and then what we're just going to do is we're going to write these 3 variables in this class. So let's suppose roll number is integer value, so int roll number, age is also an integer, and let's suppose the gender is a character value as female or male, so character gender. So we have created a class data type student which has these 3 members, or you can say these 3 are the data types or the data values of this class student. So if you want to create 50 records of 50 students, so what you're just going to do is you're going to create an object student 1, then you are going to create another object student 2, and what you're just going to do is you're going to create the students, the objects of this class, and these objects will refer to all the data types, all the members of this class. So instead of creating 150 variables or a lot of variables, we have just created a simple class, and now we're going to create objects or instance of this class. Objects or instance of this class. So now what you can do is you can use this object and you can assign the values of this object, which we will see in the program. So classes are very powerful and they are just basically object oriented, so they make Java object oriented. You will see that in real life objects have some properties and some behavior. So let's suppose we have an orange. It has properties like it has a shape, sphere, it has color orange, it has some taste. And let's suppose we have another object car. So it has some behavior also, which is its speed, and a lot of things are there. So an object can have properties which are just the variables and can also have behavior. and behavior is represented using functions or methods. In this tutorial we are just concerned with the properties. In the next tutorial we will also create methods to define the properties of this class. So let's move on to the Eclipse IDE and create a class student and an object of that class. So here is our Eclipse IDE, and what I'm just going to do here is I'm going to create a class and I will name that class as student, and I will create three variables of this class. One is the roll number, next one is the age, and then gender. So I've created three members of this class student, right? So what I'm just going to do is in the main function I'm going to create some objects of this class. In order to do so, you will have to use the name of the data type. So the data type of the class was student, and let's suppose I want to say that the object is student1. So if you're writing this line, it means, so I'm going to write a comment here, it means that you are referencing to a class student. So what you are doing is you are creating a student object which is just referencing to this class. But now we have to allocate this object in the memory so that we can assign values of roll number, age, and gender in the memory. In order to do so, we will have to use a new operator or a new keyword which is used to allocate the members of this class in the main memory. So what I'm just going to do here is I will write student1 is equals to new student so this should be n, just some typing mistakes. So now you have created an object, you have created a reference to a class student, and what you're now going to do is you are just assigning this student1, you're allocating it to the memory. So allocating it in memory. So that's what basically we are going to do in this tutorial. Instead of writing these two lines, you can merge it in a single line. You can write student1 equals to new student like this. So you can see here that it is giving us some warning here. So the warning is no enclosing instance of the class ThinkX. Okay, so this class should be outside, it should be here. So now we have done two things. One is we have created a class student which has some member variables in it, and now we have created a student1 using a reference, and we have now allocated it in memory. So let's create another student which is student2, and in the same line we are going to allocate it in the memory like this. So now you can see that instead of creating a lot of variables and instead of making our program more complex, we have made it more compact. So you can see that now it is easier to maintain the variables of each of these objects. So how can you assign the roll number, age, and gender of a particular student, or in general, how can you assign the members of a class to the object? So how can you initialize an object of a class? So what we are just going to do is, in order to initialize, or I'm writing here assigning values to student 1. So if you want to assign values to the student 1, what you are just going to do is you're going to access the student 1 object. Then we are going to use the dot operator, which is used to access the member functions or the members of this class. So you can see here that after writing dot, it is already mentioning these three members or the properties. So let's suppose we are first going to assign the roll number. So student 1 roll number, let's suppose the roll number of the student is 25. So now we have a student 1, which has roll number 25. So let's suppose I want to assign student 2 roll number as 50. So it's simple. You will just have to create a class. So you will have to create a class, create some members in it, and then just use to allocate the object in the memory and also to reference it to the class student. So now we have assigned roll number to the student 1 and student 2. So you can see here that instead of creating a lot of variables for different students, we are just using the objects of different students and we are assigning roll number to them. So this has made our program more compact and more efficient. Now it is easier to understand. You can see that student 2 roll number is 50, so it is very easier to access the members. You will see the power of classes in the upcoming tutorials when you will explore inheritance also. So now what I'm just going to do is I'm going to assign some more values like student 1 dot age. Let's suppose the age is 16, and let's suppose the age of student 2 is 17. Now what I'm just going to do is I will assign the gender also, student 1 dot gender, and since it is character value, I will have to write it like this. So let's suppose the first student is male, so I'm going to write M here, and this should be student 1 like this. Then student 2 dot gender is equals to, let's suppose the student 2 is female. So this is how you are going to assign the values to the object of this class. Some programmers also use instance as a replacement for object. So they might say that we have created an instance of this class. So student 1 is the instance of this class and student 2 is another instance of this class. And we have seen how we can assign the values to them. So now what I'm just going to do is, if you want to display, so now I'm going to display the age of student 1. So in order to do so, age of student 1, since we have already initialized the age value of the student 1, you can access the age member using student 1 dot age separated by a semicolon. So now this program will print the age of student 1. So let's run this program and see the output of this program. So you can clearly see here that in the output it is representing age of student 1 is equals to 16. So before printing out any values of this class or an object, you will first have to assign the values to it. In the next tutorial, we are going to create functions that will just calculate some marks of these students. So let's create another field here, int marks of student 1 and marks of student 2. So let me just assign the marks of student 1 as 95 and similarly I'm going to assign the marks of student 2 as, let's suppose, 80. So in the next tutorial we are going to create a function in this class which will just print out the sum of the values or the sum of the marks of student 1 and student 2. We are also going to assign the values first and then we are going to display it using a function void display. So void display function will just display the details of student 1 and student 2. In this tutorial we have just covered the members. In the next one we are going to introduce you to methods or functions in classes. So thanks for watching.